Hello, everybody. Ben Rogers here, the Raptors Digest. Back here with our first episode of Buy or Sell Riker. The Raptors, they're coming back in a couple of days, so we gotta buy or sell some of the hottest takes surrounding the team, Riker.
Let's get into it, Ben.
Let's dive straight into it. And one important discussion to talk about as we enter the season is Fred VanVleet. Are you buying this guy being an all-star this season, Riker, or are you selling that take?
That's sold. That's at auction. That's
sold.
Gone, Ben. That's gone. All-star is politics. All-star is flashy basketball, and it's winning. And the record for the Raptors isn't going to be there. The flashiness and the politics isn't going to be there. This man can't dunk. He's not making the playoff or an all-star appearance. No cap.
Okay, so you're saying sold. I'm saying buy. I don't know if you've been listening to Fred.
You're crazy. You're crazy.
I'm crazy.
That's terrible. You're losing all your money. I hope you're not putting the life savings into this one.
Riker, you're the price is low right now on Fred VanVleet. You're talking about the record being bad. That's only going up. You're talking about Fred VanVleet, his star power, his notoriety's not there. That's only going up. Fred VanVleet is going to be an all-star this season because he is going to be the leader.
Fred VanVleet's hit his ceiling.
Fred VanVleet's at the ceiling. He is going to be the leader for the Toronto Raptors team this season.
Middle of the pack playoff team. Come on, where's the arguments?
I'm coming in with them. Fred VanVleet, he's the new leader. Kyle Lowry, he's gone out of there. Fred VanVleet stepping into his role. He's talking to the media like that savvy veteran presence, coming in, ready to rock, talking to guys, managing this core. And he was talking about how last season, if the Raptors were a top 4 team, he would have been an all-star. And you know what? The Raptors, they're going to be a playoff team. That's getting into other takes, other stuff. I am buying Fred VanVleet being an all-star this season, right?
He crosses somebody up every other game. He can't dunk, right? Most of his package is in leading the floor and shooting threes. None of this translates to selling tickets at an all-star appearance. Pascal Siakam's going to be the guy if we have any all-stars this season, Ben.
I don't know, but is Pascal Siakam will he be reflected as that? Because Fred seems to be the one that stepped into that role as leader now with Kyle Lowry gone.
Listen, doesn't matter. Is Bradley Beal the best player on the Wizards? But if him and John Wall, it's like usually John Wall that's getting selected. It's who's going to make the most interest in I keep saying playoffs in an all-star game. It's not going to happen.
It's going to be interesting. The X factor is obviously OG and Pascal, how they play, because Raptors probably going to be they're going to be a middle of the pack team, but we should dive into this next question, this new stock that we have to pick record. Will the Toronto Raptors make the playoffs this season?
Yes. At least 7th, maybe 8th, but they're in the mix. If they're worse than Charlotte, I don't know what I'm going to do. If they are worse than the Bulls, I don't know what I'm going to do. If they're worse than the Heat even, I don't know what I'm going to do. On paper, the Raptors are more talented than the bottom playoff feeders. Even the Hawks, even with their amazing playoff run, I would still argue the Raptors are more talented on paper. How the execution will play out, I don't know, but they're not missing the playoffs 2 years in a row, Ben.
Oh, well, I'm definitely buying the Raptors making the playoffs this season. I think that's definitely going to be something that's going to occur. I'm interested by your ranking of teams, though, Riker. You say the Heat are going to be the bottom in the Eastern Conference?
No, I'm saying that the Raptors they should be better than the Heat. They should be better than the Heat, the Hornets, the Bulls, probably the Hawks. Are you buying the Raptors at 4th seed? I think that's a bit ambitious for me. I'm saying 6-7 is where the Raptors will finish.
That's a fair range. I bought early. I bought high, Riker. I tried to buy real low on the Raptors being a top 4 seed about a couple of weeks ago, a month ago or so. Listen to Masai Ujiri talk about this team, looking at the young core, looking at how strong the East could be this season. That take is looking hotter and hotter, but I may as well buy low, Riker. I should put all my money into these meme stocks and let it go to the moon. The Toronto Raptors, I still think it's possible for them to make the 4th seed. Now, the Heat, I think they're going to be an interesting roster. I think injuries are going to come into play with that squad to see if they really become full form, because with a healthy, obviously, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, surrounded by Kyle Lowry, PJ Tucker, Markieff Morris, all those guys into the mix, added to their core, their guys of Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson shooting the lights out from outside. that's a well-rounded roster there. The Bucks and the Nets, they're going to be two teams at the top of the Eastern Conference, which will probably they'll be at the upper echelon. We could see the Sixers stock dropping by the day, right? The young socialite report we've been dropping every second day on Courtside Digest. The Celtics are still interesting. The Hawks made the Eastern Conference Finals last year, but as you mentioned, I could see the Toronto Raptors, if things fall right, this rebuild could be going to the moon, Riker.
I'm worried about the Bulls. I'll say that much. I'm worried. I think we might see some close competition with the Bulls, but let's move along. We can break that down in another video.
Yep, no, without a doubt. And another guy we got to talk about on this Toronto Raptors team that's making headlines, specifically in those Bleacher Report lists, Riker, OG Anunoby. Are you buying he's going to be a top 3 candidate for most improved player this year?
I don't think he has the mental for it, Ben. I haven't seen it here. His development has come along, but to be a most improved player, who have the candidates, or who have the last couple of recipients been? I know Pascal Siakam's been one. I don't know who it was last year.
Off the top of my head, no.
Off the top of your head? Was it Sabonis got it one year? Jeremy Grant, I think, might have got it last year.
Jeremy Grant.
But these are all guys, right? These are all guys that went from being role players to, top players on their team. And OG, he has the responsibility of a top player, but he doesn't have the responsibility of a creator, of a put the ball in this guy's hands and let him do the work. And I don't think he has the mental, at least not what I've seen so far in his career, to become that guy. So I'm selling this take.
Yeah, that's fair. And I'll probably sell him being a top 3 most improved player candidate because his defense is already there, right? He's not going to improve that much more on the defensive end. I don't know if his stats will necessarily get to the mid-20s. I think that's where the jump would probably have to happen in order for people to think, oh my goodness, OG Anunoby most improved player, because the defense was already at a top tier level last season. Now that's because I'm probably looking at the range. OG up there is already up at a high echelon. Now, if you look at the videos, Riker, I'm going to be spreading the propaganda all this summer with OG Anunoby. His handle's looking tighter and tighter in these summer workout videos. If the handle can come to full form,
not talk about handles, Ben.
MJ in my
Don't
OG Anunoby,
talk about handles. You got everyone's hope up last year. Don't talk about handles.
Don't talk about handles. I don't know, Riker, but the next take we got to talk about. I made a video on him yesterday. Goran Dragic. Are you buying or selling that Goran Dragic will be traded from the Toronto Raptors this season?
You probably buy that take, Ben, because the Raptors don't seem committed to this guy. Now, if we're in a top playoff position, if we're 4th seed, 5th seed, I see the value in keeping a guy like this around, a veteran presence, play him off the bench, let him be that scoring option. He has some serious accolades throughout his career with successful teams and playing European basketball and playing country basketball for Slovenia. I like this guy, even though a lot of people don't because of his comments around playing for the Raptors. But if we're in playoff contention, championship contention even, why trade him? What's the move? It would be lateral at best.
Yeah, that's you're buying it. I'm selling this one. I'm thinking, as you said, I don't know if the move's going to happen. There's the talks about Moses Brown potentially being that deal occurring with the Dallas Mavericks. Apparently that was supposed to happen on October 1st. Obviously, Precious Achiuwa is looking like he showed out in Summer League. The Raptors probably have more trust in him now. Kevin Birch was obviously re-signed to this team, so there's less need for a center. I think the Raptors are probably going to find value out of Goran Dragic. Being a veteran, Nick Nurse has even talked about potentially starting him. I know that frustrated a lot of Raptors fans, and honestly, I don't really think that's a smart move for this team.
Terrible move. Yeah,
he's impressed in training camp. Clearly, if Nick Nurse is making these comments, so if he can come in off the bench, help Malachi Flynn, sort of, how we had Fred VanVleet and Kyle Lowry running the starting unit last season. Throw Trent in the starting unit and let Malachi and Dragic have that similar dynamic off the bench next season. I think that's a more ideal situation. Then maybe let him finish games if Trent's cold one night. That all makes sense. And I think the Raptors could find a lot of value out of Dragic. However, if the trade deadline comes around and we don't live up to expectations, I think for sure he's gone. But having him as a guy that both you and I think on a Toronto Raptors team that's trying to make the playoffs, that's a smart move to keep around.
Yeah. Are we talking about him in the starting lineup, or are we saving that for another video? Because I got some comments around that, but we can just move right along.
I made a whole video on it. Do you want to give your take on Dragic in the starting lineup?
My quick takes is it makes zero sense for the development of Gary Trent Jr., the amount that you paid him, the defense. We have Clamp God, Scotty Barnes, OG, Gary Trent Jr., who's supposed to be a step up in defensive ability from Norman Powell. Why sacrifice that for a two, kind of an undersized two that you are losing a lot of the defense? And for once, let us play with a proper 1-2 rather than playing a 2-point guard combination. I feel like you might have said all those things in your own video, but I just needed to get that little rant out. I don't want to see him in the starting lineup.
No, without a doubt. I think it uses that. Let him finish games if he's playing better than Trent, but give that starting unit to Trent, especially to start off the year. Keep his confidence high. He struggled with the off the bench stuff, but you guys can watch that video if you want a full Goran Dragic breakdown. But Ryker, I might have to break out a bit of the precious propaganda for this next stock we're talking about, Ryker, because the next Bam Antetokounmpo, what was that name?
Antetokounmpo, Kumpo, Baca.
Yeah,
we saw a lot of everything from this man in Summer League, man.
All of the comparisons for Precious Achiuwa, and we just talked about Dragic. Both you and I, we're obviously selling the Dragic being the starting lineup, whether it's happening or not. We just want to sell that stock. We don't want to hold it to potentially root for it, even if the money's going up. But are you buying Precious by the end of the season will be the Toronto Raptors starting center?
Without a doubt, he is better than Khem Birch. Without a doubt. He is more talented right now than Khem Birch, who has more NBA experience under his belt, right? From a development perspective, I don't know if he'd be better served playing off the bench where he'd maybe have a bigger role, not playing behind the scoring of VanVleet and Gary Trent Jr. and Siakam when he comes back, and right, OG, right? He'd probably be more of a scoring option playing off the bench. Or it could go the other way, that he'd get better development playing with the starters. Now, tactically, it makes more sense if he's better, or maybe this is a philosophical basketball argument, but tactically, you need at least one scorer off the bench. Malachi Flynn could be that guy. Dragic could be that guy, but maybe Watanabe could be that guy. But I like Precious Achiuwa so much, I would maybe rather see him come off the bench as a scorer, because Khem Birch isn't going to give you any of that, right? Khem Birch and Malachi Flynn, we saw it. What are they going to do? Pick and roll at best, not pick and pop, not pick and flare, no pick action besides pick and roll, Ben. And I don't know if that's all I want to see from Khem Birch. I think it makes more sense to play.
So you buying or selling, Riker?
I'm selling. I gotta play him off the bench.
I gotta put these trades in. I gotta put them into the machine. The Robin Hood app out here cooking. Make these trades official. Riker, I see what you're saying, and I'm interested because you're selling that he's going to be in the starting lineup, but you made the adamant argument that he's better than Khem Birch. Now, I'm not taking the Khem Birch slander that you're throwing at this video, this in your fancy suit that we got rocking on. But no slander will be taken towards Khem Birch. He's a bucket getter, and that 3-point shot, it's looking nice. But outside of Scotty Barnes, who we'll talk about later in this video, Precious Achiuwa is really the guy. It seems like all the teammates are surprised with his energy, his level of shooting. We saw him in the Summer League just absolutely ball out for this team. I tend to agree with you. I think at 20 years old, his potential and his just already level of raw talent puts him ahead of a Khem Birch. I think at the start of the season, you're definitely going to start Birch just because he was with the team last year. He knows the system's probably a little bit better. Nurse did say a lot of the newer guys, the younger guys, they need to figure out those defensive schemes. But in terms of raw talent, I think Precious is already there. And by the end of the season, I am absolutely certified buying he's going to be a starter. I know I've been flamed for that, but I think it's going to be the case.
Well, you look at Jonas Valanciunas and Serge Ibaka, right? You'd never play Jonas Valanciunas off the bench. It happened a couple times, but even though Ibaka's better in every way than Valanciunas, makes more sense to have Ibaka scoring off the bench. You close games with Ibaka, but you're maximizing JV's potential playing him as a starter. I see it in a similar way with Khem Birch. So I think we're both pretty well.
Yeah, pretty well in agreement. Our outcomes are a little bit different. So we'll see who ends up making the money on that stock trade, Riker. But I talked about Scotty Barnes earlier, and will Scotty Barnes win Rookie of the Year this season, Riker?
No, because he's not a scorer. It's always skewed to scorers. I'm selling this stock. I apologize. I got to say that at the beginning of my rant, but he's not a scorer. And rookie of the year in the same way, all-star, right? It's really heavily skewed to those box score stats and particularly scoring, not always necessarily winning. But I think Scotty Barnes, he's going to be a rebounder, a steals, a blocks guy. I don't know how it's going to translate the points. And he's obviously going to be eclipsed because they're so skillful by Green and Cunningham.
Yeah.
So I think they're a shoe in 1 and 2.
Yeah. Rookie of the year, I'm probably selling on as well. I think it's going to be a sell for Scotty Barnes in terms of being rookie of the year specifically. Now, if we're talking best guy long term as they develop, as they get more reps under their belt, defensively, all those sorts of things, then I'd be more likely to buy, right? But obviously that's not what the stock is asking for right now. But rookie of the year, it usually goes to those guys that have the most star power coming out of the draft or the most flashy or surprise the most people. And yes, while I think Scotty Barnes will surprise a lot of people, his leadership has been something a lot of people have talked about. And as a young player, that's huge coming in for this team because Fred has been given the mantle, given the roles of this squad. But having a young guy that's the young promising prospect, buying the staff of the Toronto Raptors, taking them all out to dinner, exploring the city, embracing the fans. That's exactly what you want out of a young guy that has all that raw talent potential. And the players have talked about, they talk about him in the same vein that everyone talked about DeMar DeRozan with he's the first one in the gym, he's the last one to leave. So that development with that athletic body and that proper attitude, long term, I'm buying high on Scotty Barnes. But in terms of rookie of the year, probably selling that take.
Yeah, that's perfect. And this might be a really good draft class. We might look back and see 3 or 4 or 5 Hall of Famers from this particular draft class. So, that's not to discount Cade and Green in the long term, but I totally agree with what you're saying about Scotty Barnes, man.
Yeah. Scotty Barnes is one of the most exciting players on this squad. And finally, I guess our last final take will be, will Delano Banton get minutes on this Toronto Raptors team?
Throw it back to you. I want to hear your arguments, Ben.
First season around, I'm leaning towards sell. I would have been more open to this buy. It's certainly a buy low option right now. I think it's a very, very low to the ground. It could be one of those penny stock. It's Dogecoin in 2016. It could be something you pick up, right? And it just shoots right up to the moon if he shows out because he looked amazing in Summer League. He obviously the raw there's flaws to his game without a doubt, 100%. But Summer League, he impressed everyone that watched him play. He had one, I think, down game, but his defense, he was blocking shots, he was getting to the rim. He looked like a not even a Giannis, his own unique type of style out there getting to the rim. He shot some of those mini fades. I think Delano Banton is going to be a really sneaky pickup for this team, and maybe by the end of the season, if he gets some opportunity and things work out, but I think it's going to be more so a guy that breaks out in a season or two. But after picking up Svi Mikhailuk, I had his name down before. I'm giving myself the Charles Barkley here as I'm making these purchases, but Svi coming into this squad, obviously we're high on Ishmael as well. Dragic looking like he's going to be a staple into the rotation. Those guard positions look like they're going to be filled. And then obviously Utah, Chris Boucher, Siakam, OG, all those guys in the front court. And that obviously are centers. It's going to be tough to crack the rotation, but I think if he does, there is potential there.
I like that assessment. I feel like we have depth.
Yep.
And this is it's funny to say when the team was 10th, 12th seed last year, didn't make the playoffs, but I just look at the roster, 20-man roster, and I like our depth. So we'll see what happens, but I agree. Delano Banton, he's probably a year or two out, but he'll eventually be the next VanVleet, I'd say.
Yeah, and definitely not in terms of play style, but in terms of breaking out for this team.
Yeah, like coming up through the G League and everything, yeah.
It's going to be a fun team to watch this season, so you guys can invest in the Raptors Digest stock right now, right? Especially before we hit the market this season. You can jump in early, right? The Raptors Digest going to the moon. You can subscribe to the channel. Check us out on Instagram, Twitter. We have a lot of cool stuff dropping over the next couple days. A couple of collaborations you guys should be excited with. And the merch scene, it's coming back. We've saved it for this season. We got it really ramped up and organized this year. Channel memberships, all that sort of stuff. So definitely stay tuned to Raptors Digest. Subscribe. You can tell your friends about the channel. And yeah, you guys are the best for making this far. As I said, I'm plugging everything right now because you got to buy Raptors Digest stock heading into the season before we go to the moon. So you guys are the best to make it this far. Check out Instagram, TikTok, all that cool stuff. Ryker, you're back from Europe. We kind of had a hot intro in here. Any last words on your podcast back, the season around the quarter, all of our trades we made in this video?
I'm wearing sleeves, but underneath, Ben, goosebumps. Goosebumps. We're a day or two away, guys. It's going to be a great season, Ben. Good to be back. Cheers.